patient as an audience. And while I'm giving my thank you to our hosts and to you, let's stand up and stretch and give a round of applause to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. A round of applause for the Chamber. All right? And also, all of our elected officials who work so hard on your behalf. We have many of them on the stage here, so a round of applause for our elected officials working hard on your behalf. Thank you. And mostly to you, the audience, for being patient, turning out tonight to learn more about your candidates and the important decisions you have to make on November 8th. With that, I'd like to begin my remarks. I'm not a politician. I'm a business guy, and I grew up here in central New York, small town east of Utica. Working class family. My dad worked in factories as an electrician, and together he and my mom raised 7 children. And after local schools and college, I had the good fortune in college, meeting my wife, Krista, who's here with me. And we've been married 36 years and traveled around the world as I worked as a civilian for the Navy for 10 years. With the last stop happened to be in the San Francisco Bay Area. And that's where we started a company together. This was a company that began, like most people starting businesses, not with a desire to grow a big company, but just to start a small business. And we didn't take a single dollar ever of government money for loans, grants, or any special deals, but rather we worked hard, and because the nature of the business involves when we started in 1988, a new industry that no one ever heard of before, the idea of helping small companies with all their headaches of being an employer, we ended up going on a path where we were starting to go very fast, and we raised money from outside investors, which is difficult to do, especially in a service kind of business. But we grew the business, got it to a stage where we really did have a good management team, the business was doing well, and that's when we decided to move our family back to my hometown of Little Falls, New York, just east of Utica. That was in 1999. And as a result of that, I'd hoped I was only going to be doing a commute back and forth between East Coast and West for a couple of years, but it ended up being a 10-year commute while I'm still running my company. And when I was doing all those flights, going back and forth, I got to thinking about, why is it we have so many of our best talent, our children, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, why are we watching them go away so often? And oftentimes it's because they don't see the opportunities in new industries. And so drawing on the lessons that I learned in Silicon Valley, I started a nonprofit in upstate New York called Upstate Venture Connect, which has as its mission addressing the very problem on why we don't see many of these new industry companies, because we have all the right ingredients. We've got smart people. We've got communities with a lot of assets and great quality of life. We do a lot of research. All these things are great. But the reason people don't start companies in new industries here is because it's too hard for them to get connected to the right opportunities, the right people and resources they need. So my nonprofit, Upstate Venture Connect, has been on that mission for 6 years, and we have connected hundreds of entrepreneurs. We have done a lot of things to help them raise capital, including beginning 6 new seed capital funds where local investors came together, put their money into these companies, so it doesn't have to be government money, but instead private sector money. And this is a big reason I'm running for Congress, because those principles of how do we create jobs doesn't have to rely on government money, and especially with the problems that we've seen and we've heard about this evening. We know that's not the best solution. The private sector can actually do it. But it requires leadership, and leadership including in our congressional office. So it's not just casting votes, which is important, including casting votes to get lower taxes and less regulation, which is also important, but we have to create the right environment, the environment for our job creators who create companies that in turn hire people. That's how we create jobs. Many of you know that I'm running as an independent, and as an independent, I don't have a major party brand. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, and in most years, electing someone to Congress as an independent is just not something you have an option to do. This is not most years. We realize our parties have failed us. We have 2 candidates at the top of the ticket that have done an incredibly poor job, and right now, all of us are frustrated by that.
Mr. Babinec, as a direct,
As an independent, I have the chance to bring the parties closer together and put things back on a track of collaboration as other independents will follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babinec. Next, we go to Assemblywoman Claudia Tenney, who is the Republican candidate. Press the bottom and look for the green light on the side. You see the green light?
How about that?
Exactly.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the Chamber. Thank you for coming out as small business owners. I'm also a member of our Chamber up in the Utica area. I came into politics quite by accident, actually. I am a small business owner, like many of you. My grandfather started our family business in 1946 with $100. Today, we are still located right in the heart of the New York 22nd District. We were founded in Hamilton and Norwich, and now we are in Sherburne. We're incorporated in New York. We've paid all our taxes in New York. We have employed and all of our employees here. We've also produced all the goods and services here in New York. We're still here. We're a New York-based corporation. We haven't changed. We haven't moved. We haven't done anything. But what we've done is fought against corruption, taxes, regulation, Obamacare, which has been devastating to our family business. We used to, at one point, have 80 employees. We're now down to about 67, partially because of the just ever-increasing costs of health care. We used to have a wonderful plan for all of our employees, which had all kinds of great extensions and benefits that we've had to tailor back. We've been forced into a partial self-insurance because of just the amazing costs. We're manufacturing. When DeRollo was talking about how many jobs we've lost in manufacturing, we actually are a light manufacturing company. We do pharmaceutical packaging right here in central New York. I ran for Congress because I got tired, frankly, of politicians saying we'll reduce taxes, we're going to reduce regulations, we're going to do all these things. And I said, I've got to do something. I've got to run and see if I can actually stand up for our business community. I have a 100 rating from NFIB. I've always had that. NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Business, to support our small business community, because 70% of the jobs, the new jobs created in this country, are created by small businesses. Now, you've heard a lot of things coming out of the state. You know, I'm a member of the State Assembly. I've lived the corruption in the State Assembly, and as some of them have pointed out, some of it's illegal, like Startup New York. Many of the things are part of that. The corruption, the Fort Schuyler management. Some of the corruption is actually legal. That's the biggest problem in Albany, is some of the corruption looks like it's legal. So you have this pay to play. You know, right now some people have been dragged out in handcuffs and they're facing jail sentences, like Sheldon Silver. I was the first person actually in the state to call for his resignation back in 2012. He's facing a jail sentence, and I might add, DeRollo, the controller actually signed the check that Sheldon Silver used to make a secret payoff deal for sexual harassment victims in the State Assembly. So not always is the controller there with us, but I'll give the controller a little credit on the Startup New York plan. He did stand up for it, and he did say that there's some problems here. And now you have Preet Bharara, the U.S. Attorney in New York City, investigating this. And that's something that's a problem for all of us as businesses. When some other business gets a subsidy, a tax credit, all those things are corporate welfare. When you're running your small business and your competitor or neighbor down the street gets millions of dollars, whether it's a tax credit, a subsidy, whatever you want to call it, to run and compete against you, that's unfair. That's government picking winners and losers. That's government getting in the middle of the mix. And that's what's going on in Albany. If you don't curry favor with certain politicians, you are not going to get anything. Your business is going to struggle. And let me tell you something, my business struggles because we don't curry favor with politicians. I'm in Albany, I'm a Republican, it's 107 to 43 in the State Assembly. Sorry, DeRollo, the odds aren't great for us. But it's a struggle to run against the Democratic machine in Albany, and that's what it is. Andrew Cuomo, whether it was Hillary Clinton who promised 200,000 jobs here, this is tough. And running for Congress is about the economy, it's also about security, and it is about the corruption. And as someone who has struggled to make a payroll, have to beg on my accounts receivable list for people to pay, I don't have government jobs and government money coming into our business. You know, that's something that we have to really take seriously. Also, you know, dealing with security, and this is going to be more of what you do in Congress. It's one of the primary roles. I know what it's like. I raised my son as a single mother. I'm very proud to say he graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy. He's now serving as an active duty Marine. So, you know, the security issue is very important to me. What's happening in this world? what we're doing to protect our veterans, what we're doing to protect our country at the border and overseas is critically important. But again, it continues to come back to corruption and corporate welfare and picking winners and losers. And that's something I've been fighting for.
Need to wrap up.
Okay, thank you. That's something I've been fighting for in the Assembly, and I'll do that in Congress. I'm someone that's not afraid of the most powerful people in this state, and I've stood up to them. And that's why you see millions of dollars being spent to try to defeat me in this race. Thank you very much. I appreciate your vote on November 8th.
Thank you, Ms. Tenney. Now we move on to the Democratic candidate, Broome County Legislator Kim Myers.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank the Chamber, but more importantly, I want to thank people who stuck around by the time we got to this end of the dais here. I'm still here, and as a matter of fact, I've always been here. I was born and raised right here in Binghamton in a family business that was just up the road a couple blocks away. My dad started a small bait and tackle shop, and my 5 siblings and I, we worked in that business our whole life. Nobody complained. We just knew that this is what we did. This is what our family did. And then when my father's health started to fail, my siblings and I bought the 2 stores from my dad. And under my brother's direction, his leadership, and his vision, we have grown that into 750 stores nationwide under Dick's Sporting Goods. And I couldn't be more proud of our family's success and all that we have achieved. We've been here. We've stayed here. This community is our home. It's my home, and it will always be my home. I've been married to my husband, Tim Myers, who runs the Dick's Sporting Goods Open professional golf tournament here every year that brings in about $12.5 million in economic impact to our community. I'm very proud of that, and like I said, he stuck with me for 36 years and 6 children. The oldest is 35 and the youngest is only 8. We've been at that for a while as well. There's one thing my father always told us when we were growing up. He always said, you never forget where you came from. This is where we came from, and this is where we are. We stay, and we employ a lot of people in New York State and across the country. I'm proud of the fact, as County Executive mentioned, that our company is also bringing 500 more jobs to the area, and we couldn't be prouder of that, to be able to do that. I'm running for Congress for a number of reasons. I know what it's like to serve the public. I know what it's like to remember where you came from. I've served on the Vestal Board of Education for 18 years, 8 of them as president. Served on the Child Hunger Task Force because I know how important that is to our youth. I can't even remember all the things that I've done. I sit on the board of directors of Lourdes Hospital, so I have a sense of what's going on in healthcare. I'm on the Binghamton City School Foundation because I know what it's like to help some of our public schools. And yes, I'm currently a Broome County legislator and I'm the minority leader. I'm running because I know that this is a great place. And I'm actually not doom and gloom. We have a lot of exciting things that are happening here in Broome County. We have great things and great potential. We are just on the cusp, and we need good leadership to make that happen. I'm running because I know it requires that leadership and it requires a skill set. It requires somebody that knows about business, knows about education, and it knows about bringing jobs, and it knows about helping people. I have many, many blessings in my life. I won't doubt that, and I won't take it for granted for 1 minute. One of the biggest blessings I have is I am the product of a quality public school education. I've still been in touch with my 8th grade teacher who taught U.S. history. And I can tell you where I was sitting in the classroom when she told us, this government of the United States only works if you participate. It's a participatory government. And that's what I'm doing, and that's what I want to do, is participate. I know there's a lot of things that need to be done, and I'm the one that can help us do it. I know for firsthand what we need is infrastructure. That's been talked about a lot around here. Our airport has been a problem for a long time. We need to improve the infrastructure, and that will bring jobs to our area. As someone who's lived here my whole life, and I'm sorry about this because I get, I also know what businesses need. One of the things that businesses need is due to the big banks debacle in 08 and 09. We have such restriction on credit and on cash. We need for small businesses to loosen up that credit, to make that available to them. When I was growing up in our family business, there was 3 things that were talked about around the dinner table. One was the weather, because that affected our business all the time. If it was hot, we sold golf clubs. If it was cold, we sold boots and gloves. But the other thing was, how are the New York Giants doing? That was very important to us. But the other thing that I remember as a child is always being talked about is, how much did we pay down on the note? How much were we able to pay off on our credit? Because I knew fundamentally in growing that business that credit was not only crucial to our growth, it was crucial to our survival. That's one of the things. Thank you. So I'm running for Congress from the New York 22nd, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.